Hi guys, and welcome to a new video. Welcome to sunny England. This week's video is a bit of a niche one, but I thought I'd make it anyway. Now the machine we're going to be looking at is made by a company called Logic. It's the MSC120 sweeper collector, and it's got a Honda GX160 engine, which is a really commonly used engine on these small machines. So if you've got one of these engines, hopefully this video will be useful to you. The owners asked me to give this machine a service and also have a look at a fault that it's developed. It's making a clinking, clunking, clanking sound. So we're going to be having a look at that and seeing if we can fix it. But first of all, I put some air in the tyres so it's a bit easier to push around. And for that I use the APO2 car jump starter with built-in compressor made by Yabba Auto. I made a video about this product recently and I was quite impressed, so if you want to check that one out, I'll put a link to that in the description below. Once we've got some air in the tyres, I then proceed to give it a good clean because it's much nicer to work on a clean machine. So I get the jet wash out and give it a thorough spray down just to get rid of any of the loose dirt and dust which is collected on it. Now I hear you asking, what actually is this machine, Ollie? It's a sweeping machine. It's essentially a massive dustpan and brush. So the engine powers the brush which spins, and then that collects up whatever you want to collect, whether that be leaves, acorns, grass, or you just want to sweep up your driveway. I know, wishful thinking, right? I'd love to have a driveway that big. So once I'd given it a thorough clean, I then attempt to start the engine. So I put it in the choke position and turn the kill switch on. And this cable here connects onto the quad bike so you can control the engine speed from the quad. It starts first pull, which is surprising, but then cuts out when I try and take the choke off. A few more pulls later and it fires up again, but it sounds awful. If you listen very carefully, you can hear that clickety-clackety sound coming from around the engine. The engine's running like it's on choke at the moment, even though it's not. And we've got a little bit of black smoke coming out the exhaust, which suggests we've got a blocked air filter. That means it's got incomplete combustion of the fuel, so we're not getting enough airflow through the carburetor. Let's start with a nice easy one, and that's the air filter. So take the wing nut off on top of the filter cover and remove the cover. Oh my goodness, would you look at that? It's no wonder it's running like it's on choke. There can't be much air getting through there. To remove the air filter itself, it's then got this nut clip thing. I'm not quite sure what it is, but you just spin that off to remove the air filter. You could just put a standard nut on there, I think. I'm not sure why it's got that clip, but if you do know, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. I love a good before and after. Here we have a side-by-side comparison of the old filter compared to the new one. Once you've cleaned up around the filter housing, you can then refit the rubber seal which goes around the inlet, and then you can put the new filter on. Now I forgot to oil this filter. It's got a foam bit which goes around the outside. You're supposed to take that off and put a light smear of oil over it as an extra layer of protection so that any dust and dirt gets stuck to the oil and doesn't get sucked into the engine. But I completely forgot, so next time I'm there I will take this foam part off and give it a light oil up, and I'll just use engine oil for this. You can get specifically designed air filter oils which are a bit more tacky than engine oil, but they're a bit more expensive and I really don't see the need, to be honest. Make sure the filter cover's clean and then you can refit it. Next up, we're going to inspect and replace the spark plug. So locate the spark plug in between the exhaust and the air filter. So remove the cap off of the spark plug, and then you're going to want a 21mm deep socket to loosen off the plug. Once you've loosened it off, you can undo it by hand. Just be careful if the exhaust pipe's still a little bit hot. It's actually much easier to do this without the air filter on, which is what I'm going to realise in a moment when I can't get the plug out with my fat sausage fingers. This is a really common spark plug in Honda engines. It's an NGK BPR6ES, and you can see on the old spark plug it's very sooty, and that's more than likely because it's been running with a blocked air filter, so the engine's running with the incorrect fuel to air ratio. It's had a lot more fuel than air, so it's been running rich, and that's caused incomplete combustion, so you've got the sooty deposits on the end of the spark plug, and that's also why it's running a bit smoky. Once I'd installed the new spark plug, I then nip it up. You can use a torque wrench for this, and I would recommend doing that if you're not used to torquing up spark plugs. A new spark plug should be torqued to 13 Newton meters, and if you're reusing the old one, it should be 10 Newton meters. And then you can refit the cap and put the filter cover back on again. Next up, we're going to be changing the oils, so it's worth letting the engine run for a little while just to warm it up, and this is going to help it drain out. I start by draining the gear case oil, so locate the sump plug on the bottom of the gear case and take that out. I believe it's a 15mm socket if I remember correctly, and I use a funnel just to direct the oil away from the machine and into a catch tray. You should really take the fill cap off first, which is located at the back here, so take that off, and by taking that out you're also allowing the gear case to vent, which should help the oil drain out much quicker. While the gear case is draining, we can now check the engine oil level. So this is a fill plug here. So take that out and just check the current oil level. You can see it's slightly overfilled, and at this point our funnel's not really doing a lot. So I just allow the oil to drain down the side of the machine, and luckily the catch tray is big enough to go underneath it. It's a 12mm socket you'll need for the engine drain plug, so just loosen that off and remove the plug. You can see just how black this oil is. It's got lots of carbon deposits in it, which is really bad for your engine because it's abrasive, so it will wear down the internal components, damage seals, things like that. So I just get behind the machine and tilt it up to try and get the last bit of oil out of the engine, and then we can go ahead and give it a good clean up. I could then refit the drain plug on the engine and torque its specification, which is 18 Newton meters for this engine. I just nip it up. Obviously you really don't want to over tighten it because you could end up stripping the threads in the aluminium. And we can refit the gear case sump plug as well. It's recommended to replace the sealing washer, so just put a new one on, refit the sump plug and torque its specification. Again, this is 18 Newton meters, so torque it up or nip it up. And the next step is to fill our engine and gearbox up with good quality engine oil. Now your gearbox may take a different grade of oil, so make sure you check your manufacturer's specification. In this case it's quite straightforward because the gearbox takes the same oil as the engine. So I've got 2 litres of good quality Briggs & Stratton SAE 30 engine oil, and I'll put links in the description to anything you may need for carrying out this job. And by buying it through the links you'll also be supporting the channel, so thank you very much if you buy it through the links. You don't pay any more for the products, it just means I get a small kickback off of any sales. I fill the engine up until it just starts spilling out of the top of the filler neck, and that is the level you want for the engine oil. And then we can refit the fill plug, make sure it's on level ground obviously. And then for the gear case it's got a dipstick, and the gear case on this takes 0.5 litres of oil anyway, so we can measure that in using the measuring marks on the side of the bottle, and then just check the level with the dipstick. And to measure the oil level on this, you just dip the dipstick in. Some you have to screw the dipstick in, and some you just dip them in. This one's a dipper, not a screwer. So clean your dipstick off, dip it in, don't screw it in, and then check the oil level, and it should be at the top of the hatched markings on the dipstick. Once you're happy you've got enough oil in there, we can refit the dipstick and move on to the next part of the service. Isolate the fuel tap and remove the fuel sediment bowl using a 13mm socket. Get some paper towel ready to catch the fuel, and then just remove the sediment bowl. Try not to spill it everywhere like I just did. This is actually not too bad, but we're going to give it a good clean out using a bit of carb spray or brake cleaner just to get any sediment that's built up in the bottom there out of the system. Once it's nice and clean you can refit it and just nip it up using the 13mm socket. Turn the fuel tap on and check for leaks. And that's a basic engine service complete. Let's start it up and see how it runs. The engine starts really easily and it runs nice and smooth, but there's still something mechanically wrong with this, so let's remove the chain cover and see what's going on. This is how I look when I'm deep in thought trying to work out what's going wrong. And I've sussed it. Okay, so the chain's loose and the tension is not supposed to be like that. You can see the spring's broken on the end, so we need a new spring for it basically. Ah, found one. Perfect. This looks like it'll work. Let's remove the old spring. You can see this must be quite a common fault for this machine because the spring's worn from the vibrations at the same point at each end. New one to go on. I've had to open up the end of the spring a little bit just to get it on there. It's a little bit fiddly to get the new spring on, but with some long nose pliers and a bit of patience you can eventually get it on the hook that it needs to be on. I'll show you in a moment. Once we get it on, finally. That took many more attempts than I'm showing you on this video because it would probably be an hour long. That's running much better now, so I refit the chain cover. And there's one last little job we need to do on this, and that's replacing the rope. So let me just show you how to replace the rope. You can see the rope's really worn and it's been repaired at some point. So I've got a brand new rope to go on it. To remove the old rope, it's got a couple of little bolts which hold the rope in place on the winch. Once you've taken the nuts off of the bolts, you can then get a little screwdriver in behind the plate to pry it off. And then just remove the old rope from the winch mechanism. Get your new rope, and because it's nylon you need to singe the ends of it to stop it fraying, so just get a lighter and burn the end of the rope and that will melt all the little strands together. And then you can refit the plate and the little nuts and bolts which go on there to secure the rope in place. Remove the old rope from the other end, and it's quite brittle, so I just cut it off using some side cutters. I've wrapped some rope around the winch so it's got a bit of spare on there, and then I just singed the other end of the rope. Put some gob on your fingers so it don't burn, and then just pinch the end of the rope, and that will form a plastic cap over the top of the rope, and it stops it fraying and it makes for a nice finish. I feed the new rope through the eye on the machine and then tie a knot in it. Please don't ask me what kind of knot this is because I'm really not sure. It's still a little bit smoky, but that's because I spilt a little bit of oil on the exhaust pipe, so that'll clear up in no time once it's burnt off. Let's try out the winch mechanism. So just wind the handle and you see the back collector lifts up to empty whatever you've collected in a nice neat pile. And with it in the raised position like this, you can then drive away with the quad bike and leave behind whatever you've collected. I appreciate this video is quite a niche one and not many of you are going to have one of these Logic machines, but I'm sure lots of you have got the Honda GX series engines on other pieces of equipment, whether that's a GX120, GX160, GX200. It will be the same or a very similar procedure for all of those engines. I hope you found value in this content and you enjoyed watching the video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and if you click the alarm bell, you'll get notifications when I post new videos. YouTube's also got this new hype feature, so if you want to help small creators like myself grow on YouTube, if you click that hype button, then hopefully the videos will be seen by more people and it will help the channel to grow. With that being said, thank you ever so much to all of my existing subscribers. I appreciate every one of you, and hopefully I'll see you all again soon for another exciting video. Cheers guys, take care.